Hebrews verse 8, and it says, although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. And why would we be the exception to that? Why would we be exempt from learning to be obedient through suffering? Sometimes God is telling us something and we are not listening, or we're not wanting to do what he says because we're like delusional or we're ignorant. Or not we, but like the person might be delusional or ignorant, stubborn, in idolatry. There's a reason why you're not listening to what the Lord is telling you to do, but it's so important to listen to what the Lord is saying. You have to listen to the Lord's warning. When the Lord starts opening your eyes and waking you up to certain things, you need to follow through with what he's telling you, especially if he's making it obvious to you. It's coming in through, he's sending you like 10 signs. Like you're down the road driving and you're seeing the wrong way, you're seeing the do not enter, you're seeing yield and stop, and you're just ignoring and you're continuing to drive through. You need to turn around, you need to stop the car, you need to stop going down that path, because there's a reason why the Lord is wanting you to do what it is that he's telling you to do or not do, especially if he's sending you multiple warnings. You're much better off listening to the Lord in that moment than to not listen and then later on have to work through trauma and consequences and pain. And there's something else that I wanted to say, sin. And then having to work through the sin and the things that you've done. The Lord will allow you to distance yourself to a point where you're no longer hearing his voice as clearly. You're not reading your word like the way that you used to. You're sinning. You are being tormented. He will allow that. And in that, you might learn obedience. Hopefully, you might learn obedience, and you will understand why it is that the Lord was telling you initially what it is that you were to do or not do. But you need to listen to the Lord's warnings. Don't allow that to be the case where you're listening to the Lord and you're afraid of the loneliness, or you're afraid of this possibly being a thing that's going to completely change the trajectory of your life. Don't fear that, because you might be thinking that what the Lord is telling you is going to negatively change the trajectory of your life when the Lord has intended something positive for you. The Lord says that he knows the plans that he has for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you. So if that is what his word says, then what he is telling you is most likely setting you up to be who it is that he intended for you to be. It's much easier for you to walk towards that way and to go through that route than to have to start all over again. You don't want to get to a point where you distance yourself from the Lord, or you're so far off from the Lord that you're having to fall on your face or fall on your knees again to beg him to bring you out of a situation or out of mistakes that you made because you didn't listen to him. It's much easier for you to not have to go through that, to not have to go through learning the word again, and through learning how to hear his voice again, learning how to fast. It's much easier for you to continue going through the path of growth and development and the life that he has for you than for you to come back to milk. Instead of you being on meat and developing the way that he wants you to, instead you're being brought back to a point that you were at before, and now you're having to work through everything and go through a healing process. That is much worse, or is harder. The Lord will still use that, but it's harder than just listening to him initially when he told you